Hello everyone, and welcome to my 333 subscriber video. What you see behind me is this giant wall of redstone is my 2x2 spruce tree farm. Now I've been working on this for about 2 or 3 months now. People in my Discord may have seen me working on this, and I've been saving this for my 333 subscriber special. And you could see in the intro the farm working at full speed. One thing I will say about this farm is it gets around at max 140k an hour, but that is at 20 ticks per second. So if you're playing on a realm, you will have way lower rates, or a low-end device. For example, my laptop that I'm running this on, you'll see that it will not be as smooth as when it was running on my desktop, as in the intro. And this also does produce cobble, which I'll explain why. But first, I'd like to show you how the farm works. So the player sits in a minecart that goes back and forth and places these 4 saplings, and the tree is detected using daylight sensors, which that compared as a subtract mode. So when these two become equal, because that one has a block above it and this one gets also a block above it, it'll subtract that, creating that signal down to 0, which will unpower this piston. There's something similar on the other side, and that'll create a signal through this comparator, and then up these towers, and this is some extra timing and pulse lengthening for these double piston extenders, alternating between slime and honey. And dirt is needed here. It can't be any other block, not even logs. And this will fill up on its own, but you can fill it manually if you want to. That's pretty much what I did. The max height for spruce trees from my testing is 29 blocks. This farm is 30 blocks tall, so it's 1 extra high. As you can see, there's a blue skull right there. I only opened this up just for a view, so when you actually build this farm, you will want to close this up so that blue skulls cannot escape. And that brings me to why there are cobblestone generators in front of these giant wither cages. And the reason is because, wait for a second, a blue skull can escape this wither cage, and it will hit here and break these blocks. If you don't replace these blocks, it will eventually burrow through all this stuff and blow into these pistons, or even worse on this side, just go straight through your farm, and that is not good at all. That's why there is a cobblestone generator that replenishes these blocks and creates a shield. And there are wither cages that don't let blue skulls escape. The problem is that means I would have to funnel this giant wall of logs down into a couple of withers, and that just creates a ton of lag that is definitely not needed, especially when this is already extremely laggy due to the sheer amount of pistons and moving blocks. And this right here is actually not part of the farm. I'll explain what that's for. And then these generate snowballs, which aggro the wither, causing the wither to break blocks in its 4x4 radius. And one thing to note is these all have to be source blocks, so that might be a bit of a pain to do, but without that it won't generate cobble correctly. And do not ever turn this clock off, or else it will eventually break the farm. And the water stream doesn't necessarily have to be built in this exact way. Just make sure these areas are built out of bedrock, or else it can break the floor and water will flow down and you'll lose items. And another thing is you will get cobblestone, so I am filtering this out. There's a chance that a lot can be broken at once. You can expand on the storage. This just rotates around, and these are just double speed filters, so these fill up at the same speed. And these buttons that you see scattered everywhere, especially on this side, are just to prevent leaves, so they're not necessary and they don't serve any function. And you have to make sure these daylight sensors are on night mode. And this is where you fill in the bone meal. It is 2 times hopper speed through this dropper train. And this is the auto planter. You will not need to build this in survival. This is just a command block that places saplings automatically. So I guess we can just start the farm up. So this farm has a couple safety measures. The main one being that unless this lever is flicked, the tree farm cannot activate. This is the manual activation. So if you press this, the tree farm will activate on its own. And here comes some blocks that are already stored. And so that's in case you want to reset the system or just accidentally grow a tree and somehow it doesn't get detected. And so what you want to do is grab some saplings. There might be some here. And this is where all the saplings get stored. You can add to that storage system. And all you want to do is look at the far blocks. A bit higher. The plant will grow. Get harvested. And you can AFK here. And you also do not have to worry about 1x1 trees growing. That's only a problem on Java farms because of how spruce trees grow. 2x2 trees grow on Bedrock Edition. They grow differently, so you can stop 1x1 trees by using a certain layout. And speaking of layouts, this is a 18 tick tree farm layout that Taretars showed me on Discord. So huge thanks to him, which actually inspired me to make this tree farm in the first place. Now, even though it's 18 ticks, there is delay between when the tree is detected and the thing fires. So in the end, it's actually a 22 game tick tree farm, which is still very fast. And what's nice about this is it uses actually almost less bone meal than most 1x1 tree farms. Because it's only one dispenser and it's not blocking the tree in any way. So this is extremely bone meal efficient. And now I'll turn on the auto planter so we can see the tree farm working on its own. And my laptop cannot run this at full speed, so blocks will disappear and it won't render fully. That tree was very short, but other ones can be a lot higher. So your rates can depend on how lucky you are with the trees. But I found that on average, I got around 100 and like 40k at most with this farm running at full speed. When I did a 1-hour test on this device, I got around 60k. So it does depend a lot on what your performance is of your device. And we can see the amount of bone meal that is being used. So it's not that much, and the bone meal does stop when the tree is being harvested. And one thing I would like to show you is because of how this farm works, it does lose a bone meal about every other time. There's a 50% chance that that dispenser will dispense a piece of bone meal because this all has to retract so it doesn't get stuck to the slime block. But it's not that much bone meal, and it won't waste so much bone meal, but that's just if you see that happening, that's not your fault. It's just part of the design, and there's not really a way to make it not happen without slowing the farm down. And then we can see the wither blast chambers. So when there are any blocks placed here, and the wither will break them when they get attacked by snowballs. You can add water here to flush down some blocks that get put up here, but it's pretty rare. It's only like a couple blocks, and it doesn't matter that much. These two wither cages are pretty much identical, except for this one has the hole on the left for the snowballs, and this one has it on the right. And here I use a method of sending signals up and down using the fact that pistons are transparent to create a easy wall of pistons. Same thing goes with this over here. And glazed terracotta can be replaced with any immovable block. See, that was a taller tree. And yeah, this is greatly affected by lag. If you come down here, you can see the tree farm in action. So these repeaters right here actually do not do anything, but they do need to be repeaters because repeaters are comparators, because they have some perfect properties that can only be done by those. So there are hoppers underneath. So hoppers can still pick up items through the repeaters, but they don't stick to slime box. So that's why I chose to use them there. Just get an ender pearl to get out of here. And another thing to note is that these signal golems do not work in a hot biome, so for example a desert. So you can't build this in a hot biome, sadly. And now I'll show you what this is. So let me turn the farm off. This does produce pretty insane rates. These chests are already filling up. You can get about a chest of logs in about 10 minutes. So it's pretty fast. It's definitely don't recommend building this in single player unless you have a ton of time, because it's very overkill. And this is something that 77 Tigers showed me, and it's a lag machine, which can be useful when you're dealing with illegal items, so you want lag. But right here I'm using it to create lag, so it will slow the farm down, and I could see exactly what's happening when it broke, or I can show you guys how it works. And how this works is redstone dust checks the surrounding areas for where it's being powered, so you can get its signal strength and other stuff like that. It's a different system than Java, which does have its pros and cons. More pros in my opinion, because it's less laggy when it's just sitting here like this, but you can abuse the system to create lag like that. So what this piston does is update it. So every time this moves half a block, that is 1 tick. And you can see the withers got a lot quieter. So for those of you that may not know, even on single player worlds, there actually is a server being hosted by the client. So we have slowed down the server side of things. So as you can see, we're perfectly moving fine, but everything's going a lot slower. So the signal is currently traveling up the towers of redstone, and the double piston extenders push the logs here and here. So now that they can stick the honey and slime here, then the logs get retracted through all of these and they get pushed all the way down to here, and they get pushed here, and then these pistons will push these into the wither chamber, and then immediately the wither will break those logs. So it should happen any moment now. Pistons take a bit, there's a bit of delay, because the next plant has already been planted. And here come the logs, and they get pushed in, and then right after that, the dispensers fire the snowballs, which damage the wither, and then the withers break all the blocks in the surrounding area. They all fall down through the water stream. Water stream is a bit lagged out because um, the game is slowed down. You see, even the minecart's moving slower, but the frames are still fine. And if you do not know how to obtain Bedrock in survival, there are a couple tutorials. However, the usual way of doing this is broken in the next update. So you will need to use only 21's new method, which is not hard at all. It's actually pretty easy. So let me set this to full speed again. Should start speeding up again. There it goes. These pistons here clear out any leaves that generate here so that I can still plant the leaves. And this farm is directional because of how the trees work in Bedrock Edition. I'll show you how trees, 2x2 trees grow in Bedrock Edition. So here are the growth requirements for a 2x2 spruce tree or any other 2x2 tree in Bedrock Edition. So most people would probably imagine that it's centered around the 4 saplings, but it's all actually centered around the northwest sapling. And it's very similar to a 1x1 tree, but it's a bit more picky. So usually on a 1x1, blocks can be any block can be on the same layer as the sapling. So that means dispensers, things like repeaters, and like things to detect the tree. Um, but this on the northwest side, so this would be north, north and then west. There cannot be any blocks here except for dirt and leaves. But you can put dispensers, observers, that kind of stuff on this side. So that's why I only have one dispenser right here. Anywhere else I can't really put because it'll stick to slime. And that's why I use daylight sensors to detect the tree. Now, this also does come with its benefits because that means you can have pistons right here and then just dirt here, which means that you can push blocks a lot farther and put them closer to the logs. Because on a 1x1 tree, you actually need 2 blocks of air or dirt around the center sapling. But because this is the center sapling, this is already 2 blocks. So you can put a piston here. And that is why this farm is directional, because if you switch this around, then that means there will be pistons in this red area right here, and the tree will not grow at all. And another thing is how spruce tree works is that the center logs will not replace dirt if there's dirt above them. So if you want to make that farm shorter, you can't just cover the top part with dirt. Make sure you do, or else that'll slow the tree down if you don't use dirt and just have the logs floating there. So, and that won't impact how much bone meal is needed for each sapling at all. And I will be putting a world download in the description. Thank you everyone for subscribing to my channel so far and even viewing my channel. Even that helps, and it's been a very fun thing to do, to create YouTube videos, and it's a very fun hobby. And I'd like to thank everyone, and I guess see you in the next redstone video.